Greetings. I'm Catherine, 30 years old, and my life's journey is taking a route I never expected. Instead of embodying the dream of a blissfully married woman, I find myself on the path to becoming a divorcee. My story veers off from the norm, where the usual suspects play different roles. Surprisingly, my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law, a wonderful woman, emerged as a supportive figure in my life, contrary to the typical villain role often portrayed. The real challenge in my marriage wasn't her, but my husband, whom I'll refer to as Kevin. Our story began at a music festival, an unlikely place for a life-changing encounter. While I was enjoying the music with my friends, Kevin made his move and charmed his way into my life by asking for my number. Fast forward, and we decided to get married within just 7 months of dating. Yes, only 7 months. Looking back, I wish I had taken more time to question and be cautious. Love has a way of making you overlook the obvious signs, and I was no exception. The warning signs appeared early on. Just 3 months into our relationship, Kevin proposed, not for marriage, but for us to live together. He suggested I abandon my apartment to be with him constantly, claiming he couldn't bear to be apart from me. Despite the red flags, including what seemed like love bombing, I agreed. Kevin's mother, Martha, was a gem. When I first met her, we instantly connected, which was a relief. Meeting a partner's mother can be daunting, but her warmth made it easy. She welcomed me into the family with open arms, expressing delight at having me around after witnessing many fleeting relationships her son had. Her kindness and genuine affection were comforting, especially in contrast to Kevin's lack of commitment and respect towards his partners, as humorously highlighted by Martha through anecdotes of his past. In this unexpected chapter of my life, I'm learning to navigate the complexities of relationships, the importance of genuine connections, and the reality that sometimes the most supportive people come from the least expected places. I also took the opportunity to talk to him about the importance of kindness and respect towards everyone, not just women. I always believed the world could greatly benefit from more generous and compassionate individuals. I hoped he would take my advice to heart and treat you with the care you deserve. He seems to have done just that. He's genuinely kind, at least from what I've seen. After his father left, I dedicated myself to ensuring Kevin had everything he needed. I put in a lot of effort and time into his upbringing, often at the expense of my own needs, but seeing him well settled made it all seem worthwhile. Martha's words touched me deeply, showcasing her strength and dedication as a mother. Kevin, perhaps feeling uncomfortable with the depth of our conversation, suggested we move past this family backstory. But Martha wanted to keep sharing, expressing a desire to make the most of life and create new memories, especially with me around. She felt our connection was unique, not just another fleeting encounter for Kevin. She sensed something more lasting could develop from our relationship. Kevin, on his part, didn't hesitate to declare his immediate attraction and affection for me, despite his mom revealing aspects of his past relationships that he'd previously kept hidden. While his history raised some concerns, I couldn't help but feel optimistic about our future together. Love has a way of casting a rosy glow on everything, making it easy to overlook potential warnings. 7 months into our relationship, Kevin proposed simply yet meaningfully. He organized a picnic at a secluded spot, making it an intimate moment for us. Without the traditional fanfare of a proposal, he shared his feelings. He acknowledged his past relationships, but insisted that what we had felt was different. He believed he had found someone who truly understood him, someone he could envision a future with. His change of heart, he claimed, was largely because of me, and with his mother's blessing and our stable foundation, he saw no reason to wait. "Catherine, I want you to be my wife. Will you marry me?" he asked, marking a pivotal moment in our relationship. "I might not have a ring at the moment, but I promise there'll be one if you're willing to say yes." "I get it, Catherine. The thought might cross your mind that we're rushing into this. But sometimes you just have that feeling. You know when something's right. We have something special, and I want to take the next step to make it official. Believe me, this is genuine. Just promise me you won't have any regrets later." He assured me, his words carrying a mix of hope and certainty. So, there I was, suddenly on a fast track to marriage with Kevin, despite my whirlwind of thoughts and concerns. Before diving into wedding plans, there was the significant task of bringing my parents up to speed. They knew about Kevin, but the sudden leap to marriage was news they needed time to adjust to. After Kevin presented me with a ring, we held an engagement ceremony that served as the perfect opportunity to introduce him formally to my parents. Their support was unwavering, bolstered by my reassurances of Kevin's sincere affection and our solid connection. The ceremony itself was modest and intimate, aligning with our preference for simplicity. Just close family and a few friends gathered to celebrate our commitment. Following the engagement, we marked the calendar for our wedding, setting the date 6 months ahead. Though it seemed like ample time, the logistics of planning a wedding, especially with my family and most friends residing in a different city, presented a challenge. With limited local support and not wanting to overwhelm Kevin, who was already juggling work and odd hours, I felt somewhat stranded in the preparation process. Then, out of the blue, Martha called. "Hey, honey, how are you holding up?" she inquired, her voice always bringing a sense of calm. "I'm managing, Martha. How about yourself?" I responded. "Oh, I'm doing quite all right, dear. I just wanted to express my gratitude for the thoughtful gift from your engagement party. It was truly unnecessary, but so very kind of you. I've always appreciated how wonderful you've been," she shared, her appreciation warming my heart. As the conversation turned towards the wedding preparations and I admitted overwhelmed at tackling it solo, Martha offered her assistance. "You know, I'm here if you need any help. I don't have much on my plate these days, just me and my dog, and, after all, it's my son's wedding. I wouldn't want to intrude, but I'm more than willing to lend a hand," she offered graciously. Her offer was a lifeline, a reminder that family isn't just about blood relations, but the bonds we choose to nurture and the support we extend to each other in moments big and small. Martha's readiness to help, to step in when I felt alone in the planning, was a testament to her love and the family I was about to join. "But I genuinely want to help you in any way I can. Would that be okay?" she asked, her offer sounding like music to my ears. "Really? That would mean the world to me, Martha. I just hope it isn't too much trouble for you," I replied, overwhelmed by her willingness to assist. "Of course, I'm thrilled. My son is marrying someone as wonderful as you. I've been looking forward to being involved in the wedding planning," she exclaimed with genuine enthusiasm. "Then it's settled. Why don't you come over? We can sip tea, sort through the details, and start planning," I suggested, excited at the prospect of her company. "That sounds delightful. I'll bring some of that shortbread you're so fond of," she replied, making the arrangement even more heartwarming. In the months that followed, Martha became my steadfast ally in navigating the maze of wedding preparations. While Kevin's availability fluctuated due to his commitments, Martha was a constant presence, offering her unwavering support. She accompanied me on every wedding-related errand, turning what could have been stressful outings into enjoyable experiences. When the time came to choose my wedding dress, after what seemed like endless fittings and selections, Martha was right there beside me. Her kindness didn't stop with moral support. To my utter astonishment, she offered to pay for the dress I had fallen in love with. Despite my protests that it was far too generous, she insisted, her gesture deeply moving me and further cementing the bond we'd developed. As the wedding day drew near, Martha and I shared a moment of reflection and connection. "You're the most beautiful bride," she said, her eyes sparkling with emotion. "Your presence has changed everything for me. You're like the mother I never expected to find here, and I can't thank you enough for everything," I shared, expressing my deep affection and gratitude for her. At that moment, Martha handed me a small box, a gesture that caught me by surprise. "I want you to have this. It's a necklace, a family heirloom. Now that you're officially joining our family, it's yours," she explained. The necklace was stunning, perfectly complementing my dress. With her help, I put it on, feeling even more connected to the family I was about to officially join. Walking down the aisle, I reflected on the journey that brought me to this moment. It had been a year since Kevin and I tied the knot, and despite the ups and downs, his quirks, and our shared moments, having Martha by my side through it all made everything more meaningful. Her support and love were gifts I never expected but deeply cherished, making our wedding and the time leading up to it a truly unforgettable experience. I always believed everyone had their quirks, including myself, but then there was Martha, the epitome of the dream mother-in-law. Martha, alongside Kevin, went out of their way to make my life filled with surprises and joy. For instance, my birthday celebration was nothing short of legendary, thanks to their efforts. Completely unaware, I was astounded when my parents showed up at our doorstep and Martha presented a cake that was a slice of heaven itself. We celebrated with such abandon that it made me realize just how fortunate I was to have them in my life. Martha, whom I affectionately dubbed the plant whisperer, introduced me to the world of exotic gardening by gifting me some unique plants. Her visits often included sharing home-cooked meals, and together we spent countless hours tending to the garden. These simple yet profound moments underscored my incredible luck and the smooth sailing of life until a dramatic turn 3 months ago. The tranquility was shattered one night by a phone call from the hospital about Martha being admitted with a severe infection that had taken a toll on her kidneys, among other complications. The doctors were grim, giving her 4 weeks at most. The news was a gut punch, and while I spent nights by her side, Kevin coped by distancing himself, unable to face the reality of his mother's condition. In those final days, Martha and I shared a deeply emotional conversation. Despite my protests, she calmly informed me of her decision to leave me a significant portion of her inheritance. She explained that my presence had brought her the joy of having the daughter she always wished for. I was taken aback, suggesting that Kevin, her son, deserved it more. Yet Martha was adamant, expressing her trust in me to use the inheritance wisely and to share it with Kevin. She believed in my capacity to care for him, highlighting his good heart despite his occasional arrogance. Martha's gesture was a testament to the profound bond we had formed. She trusted me to not only be a steward of her legacy, but to also continue nurturing the love and care within our family. Her final request wasn't just about the inheritance. It was a plea to ensure her son's well-being and happiness. Promising to honor her wishes, I was reminded of the extraordinary woman Martha was and the indelible mark she left on our lives. Feeling the weight of Martha's final wishes, I was deeply moved when she asked me to scatter her ashes in her beloved backyard, a task she entrusted to Kevin and me, with the specifics laid out in her will. Her lawyer, appointed as the executor, would provide all the necessary details. As we said our goodbyes, she whispered her love, a moment of profound connection and sorrow. I chose not to burden Kevin with discussions of inheritance during such a painful time, a decision I thought wise, not realizing the tumultuous period that lay ahead. The dreaded phone call came one evening confirming Martha's passing. With a heavy heart and tears obscuring my vision, I hurried to the hospital, only to find Kevin conspicuously absent during his scheduled time to be with Martha. The realization that she departed this world alone, without the comfort of her son's presence, was a harrowing thought. Upon contacting Kevin, he mentioned being delayed due to an unspecified important matter, arriving only 3 hours later. His reaction was not of visible grief, but rather a shock, a detachment that puzzled me. Back home, amidst the silence that followed our return, I attempted to reach out to Kevin, expressing my readiness to support him through his grief. However, instead of finding solace in our conversation, I was met with a shocking revelation. Kevin bluntly stated it was time for me to leave, revealing that my belongings were already packed. He admitted to missing Martha's final moments because he was preoccupied with this task. His coldness escalated as he disclosed his ulterior motive for our marriage, to fulfill a desire of Martha's, eyeing the inheritance he expected to receive. His confession laid bare a reality I couldn't fathom. Our marriage was a facade on his part, a means to an end. Kevin's words, claiming our relationship was never real from his perspective, left me reeling. I questioned the sincerity of his actions, incredulous at the timing and insensitivity of his admission, especially so soon after his mother's passing. The notion that our marriage was merely a strategic move to spite Martha and secure an inheritance was a betrayal I couldn't comprehend. In the aftermath of such a revelation, the sanctity of our vows and the memory of Martha were tainted, leaving me to grapple with the aftermath of a relationship built on deceit. I devoted everything to you, loved you wholeheartedly, and supported you in every way possible. To discover now that your affection was merely a charade for financial gain is beyond disheartening. If Martha had lived another 4 years, would you have continued this deception? The very thought disgusts me. I should have seen the signs earlier, but I chose to overlook them, blinded by love. No kidding, I've never truly been inclined towards settling down. All those stories my mom shared about me, yes, they were accurate, but I had to put on an act, be the good son to secure my inheritance, necessitating a partner swiftly. Now, with the money soon in my grasp, the possibilities seem endless. As for you, it seems I no longer have a use for your presence. Sarcastically, you might think Martha would be proud. But here's the twist. Just days before her passing, Martha confided in me, leaving her entire fortune not to you but to me. Your disbelief is palpable, clinging to the notion that as her golden child, she would never disinherit you. Yet, in due time, the truth will unveil itself through her lawyer, a truth you've been unaware of since you were absent, possibly celebrating prematurely while I remained by Martha's side. Your sudden shift in tone, suggesting a joke gone awry, and proposing to share the inheritance is as transparent as it is desperate. Do you really think me naive enough to fall for such a ploy? Your immaturity and deceit are astounding. I need time alone to process this loss and honor Martha's memory without your manipulative interference. Thus, I took my leave, seeking solace and clarity in the solitude of a hotel room, pondering over the whirlwind of emotions and the fallout of my actions. As I distanced myself, Kevin oscillated between anger and pleas for forgiveness, attempting to retract his earlier claims. Yet the damage was done, leaving me to navigate a tumult of feelings alone, questioning the foundation of our relationship and the integrity of the vows we once shared. That night marked a turning point, extinguishing something within me. I never anticipated such selfishness. Celebrating a mother's passing for financial gain was beyond my comprehension. Kevin's actions confirmed the unsettling truth about greed that lurks in some people. The realization that our marriage was merely a transaction for him, a means to secure wealth, left me shattered. My whole world flipped upside down in the span of those few dark hours. Then an unexpected call from Kevin broke the silence, but not in the manner I had braced for. Instead of the usual cycle of anger and apologies, his tone bore a resignation I hadn't heard before. He suggested, rather coldly, that I should take care of his mother's funeral arrangements, including the cremation and the spreading of her ashes in her cherished garden. His detachment from even this final act of sonship, refusing to partake in his own mother's funeral, plunged my respect for him to new depths. It became clear, not only had Martha left her fortune to me, but her property as well, leaving Kevin feeling defeated and outcast. With Kevin absent, the funeral was a quiet affair, attended by only a few. The solemn task of receiving Martha's ashes felt monumental, a tangible reminder of the profound connection we had shared. I took her ashes to her home, to the garden that had been her sanctuary. There, amidst the beauty and tranquility she had cultivated, I offered a silent prayer and released her ashes into the earth, a heartfelt goodbye to a woman who had shown me unwavering kindness and love. Before scattering Martha's ashes, I reached out to Kevin one last time, hoping, perhaps foolishly, that he might express a desire to be a part of this final tribute. His refusal reaffirmed his complete withdrawal into selfishness. Martha's legacy to me was not just her considerable wealth, nearly $2 million, but also her home, which now serves as a living memory of her presence. In moving forward, I initiated divorce proceedings against Kevin, a decision that has proven to be profoundly liberating. Watching Kevin grapple with the consequences of his actions and the loss of everything he took for granted has been an ironic twist of fate. His regrets and the disintegration of his grand plans serve as a stark reminder of the truths he chose to ignore, the value of genuine relationships and the inevitable reckoning that follows disdain and greed.